It's another time to talk safety. When you hear the sound, you know what time it is. My name is Taiwo Baroa, standing in for Fayo Williams this Tuesday afternoon, who is unavoidably absent. Today on the program, we shall be talking World Food Safety Day. We're still in the month of June, so we can't even overemphasize this. We can't overflag it. Well, I mean, food is life, right? For those of us that like food. So, I mean, Victor must be listening now. So now you know another thing that I really love besides money, food. Okay, so this year, celebrating World Food Safety Day with the... This year, the theme for this year is Food Safety Science in Action. That's the theme for this year's commemoration, Food Safety and Science in Action. My guest on the show this afternoon is Jude Mordi. He is the Chief Operating Officer at Starber Nigeria Limited. He is also a seasoned food technologist with over 30 years of industry experience spanning food safety, quality management, warehousing, innovation systems, and regulatory compliance. He previously held senior roles at Cadbury Nigeria PLC and Kraft Foods, where he managed supplier auditing, trade quality, customer complaints, and scientific affairs across West Africa. A certified lead auditor in both QMS and FSMS. Jude is also a recognized trainer with credentials from SON, USAID, HACCP, Alliance, IRCA, Atibebelo, as in ETC. All right, good afternoon and welcome, Jude.
Good afternoon and happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Good to have you on the program this afternoon.
It's my pleasure.
Let's get down to business. Of course, with a special focus on farm to fork, keeping our food safe at every stage. First, let's start with farm to fork. What's that all about?
Exactly what it says. When you harvest food right from the farm, you ensure that within the system that it does not get contaminated and it remains as wholesome as it was when it came out from the farm up to when it is being consumed. So there is protection across the supply chain.
Regardless of how long it stays on the shelf, how long it stays in the fridge, I mean, is it possible that it stays that fresh?
Yeah, it is possible if you apply the right post-harvest processes.
Not chemicals.
Not necessarily chemicals. Not necessarily. In fact, it even precedes the harvest period because you will be looking at what are the farm practices, good agricultural practices. What fertilizers are you using, and what are the terms? Let me take one example. One very clear example. You find a lot of people they prefer to buy Orobob. That is the chicken, the big ones. Now those are hormonal. Results of hormonal processes. They are not necessarily bad, but the thing is that there is a timeline between when those things are injected and when they should be consumed. So you find that in between those times, if it does not stay the full term for neutralization of those hormones, you could have some issues. We also take some of these fertilizers, herbicides, and all those ones. So you find that there is a carryover of chemicals, heavy metals, and all those things. There is you look again at water, contamination of the groundwater supply. So there is a whole lot of things concerning food safety that we really need to focus on as a country.
All right then. I mean, looking at all of these that you just mentioned now, an average Nigerian, what we know is just go to the shelf or go to a nearby store, pick up something, grab, if possible, consume immediately. How can we then be safe with food? What are the things we should look out for when buying, when purchasing food items?
Yeah, there are two
especially farm produce.
Yeah, there are two things: policy, implementation of the policies, and awareness of the consumer. Now, when you talk about policies, the policies are as good as the implementation. When government brings out a policy, this is what we want to, this is the direction. Nigeria has a food safety policy currently on, but how well is it embedded in terms of implementation today? Is a question that we need to start asking, because if we go into the marketplace, you say these things. Now, they are consumer rights. Your right to eat safe, nutritious food, it is there. United Nations Charter. It is a right. But then you must be aware that this food is safe or this is not, because you have a choice. You have a choice. Somebody offers you something. It's not necessarily that he's not giving it to you free of charge. It's an exchange. It's a transaction. So you take your money, you go to the place. It is the onus lies on you to look at, what am I buying? Is this the right thing? For instance, let me take one other example. If you go into the market, there's what they call a sha that people buy. True. It's highly undesirable. But you see people buying these things because of the cost. So you find that because oftentimes we see some policies that are supposed to help out, but when it comes to implementation, the economic factor now becomes too high, and you find that when you disregard food safety, it has a direct and even indirect impact on your economy. Because if you go to most major markets today, you see a lot of wastages, and most of these things are contamination, bacterial microorganisms that destroy this because they have not been kept well. So there are steps that has to be taken to get these things right. And when you get the safety of your food right, it has a direct correlation with your health budget. The cost of treatments in the hospitals will come down. So it's not rocket science. It's something that is very practical. Some countries have achieved this. They have achieved this, and I believe that Nigeria is on the way. Even though we would want Nigeria to be faster in getting those things done.
Let's talk about preservatives. You just mentioned now that when you go to, especially open market, you'd find a lot of perishables, just loaded somewhere. Some people are scouting for these items, apparently. But then, preservatives and our consumables, given the kind of ailment, we have around us now, that is being attributed to processed foods, how can we possibly run away from processed food when we're talking about preserving these foods? We're talking about preserving these foods. How can we preserve this food without, applying these preservatives that are even dangerous to our health in the first place? Sometimes we even hear, if you put in the microwave, it's not healthy. There are some foods that if you put in the fridge, it shouldn't stay in the fridge for. Can you educate us more on all of these things? How best to preserve your food, just to protect our health?
Yeah. Preservatives are not on their own bad in use.
Okay.
It is the usage. Who is using it? What is the amount that is being used? Where is it being applied? That is the thing. Just like I spoke about the hormone, growth hormone in chicken now. You find that for us to preserve grains now or farm produce, you use some preservatives there.
Preservatives,
but
yes.
then there is a timeline in between when it is used and when it would have been let me say
the timeline between when it's being applied and when it's being consumed.
When it's being consumed, the potency would have gone to an appreciable level. You find that in using these things, there are several ways. Some of them, we had ways traditionally that we used to preserve our foods, like the yam ban now. If you go across the Middle Belt, the north, you will find silos constructed of clay. These are things, and they would have set fire underneath that will smoke these things out, and then they seal them. They seal them and they stay there till the next harvest. So we have those things. So they are not necessarily bad, but it is how they are applied and who. It must be guided. And again, you find that these preservatives that you're talking about in terms of processed foods, there are preservatives that have been tested and they are globally accepted. For instance, you talk about benzoate. They are globally accepted, but then the amount that we use in the tropical region, which Nigeria is in, will be different from what we use in the temperate regions, which Europe, America, they are in. So who, how, and where are those things that need to be considered? And that is where you find that the experts must play their role, and they must be listened to. They must be listened to. I belong to an institute, Nigerian Institute of Food Science and Technology, which is we have in excess of 10,000 members, and there's a council of what we call NICFOS, Nigeria Council of Food Science and Technology,
yes,
in Abuja, and they are working towards it. And again, you find, because when we talk about these things, in every local government,
yes,
there is mandatorily a food scientific officer whose responsibility is to monitor those things, implement, and create the awareness. But then, can I go to all the 744 local governments in Nigeria and find those people there? That is the implementation challenge that we have to look at, amongst others.
Still talking about preservatives and how they affect our health, especially in this part of the world. We've heard a lot about canned food and, its effects, its long-term effect on our health. What are your thoughts?
Canned food should not have the detrimental effect on our health. It shouldn't, because canned foods, usually what happens is they are heat processed, mostly pasteurization, sterilization, and those are keeping the microbes at bay. They form their spores, so they are not active then. But because it's supposed to create a modified atmosphere inside those cans, but if that atmosphere is compromised, either the can, there's a puncture, or the seam line, it was not properly seamed, so there is an avenue for the environment inside there to be compromised, you are definitely going to have issues. And again, that is where consumer awareness, due diligence. You go to buy something that is a can and you see that the can is swollen. You don't buy it. Because definitely it's not supposed to be swollen. You don't. Labeling again, you go to buy, we have the allergens. We have the allergens. Some people may say, oh, in Nigeria we don't have it. South Pacific, those Asians and some US, but increasingly we are beginning to find those things in Nigeria, especially in the elitist areas. Pardon me if I say the Lekki and Co areas. We begin to find some of the children who were born there, granules, shellfish, fish, sulfites, soybeans. So those things, some people react to these things. But then, if you look at the labels very well, you would know, because the manufacturers can do so much, but the onus lies on the consumer. And again, Nigeria also have the SCCPC, the Consumer Protection Council, that takes care of those on the rights of the consumer, but everything still lies on them. So it's a tripartite thing.
All right, Lagos, Nigeria. You're listening to Safety Train here on Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. Today, we are talking from farm to fork, still celebrating the World Food Safety Day. What's the theme? Food safety, science in action. Everything is going techie. Everything is going the science way. As a matter of fact, I hope we'll not have AI food very soon. But it is not you and I. I will not be part of those who will consume AI food. I am an indigenous person. All right, then. I have with me in the studio Jude Mordi, and he's been taking us to the classroom this afternoon. Jude, at what point, I mean, it's one thing to find an already packaged food on the shelf, and then you're saying this food is bad. It is not ideal for consumption. It's another thing to have food at home, and you're seeing it that, okay, this is not smelling nice, or it's not looking nice. Is it bad, or should I warm it? Should I add a bit of, seasoning, thyme, curry, and everything, just to spice it up again? At what point do you consider food being bad or not good for consumption?
Well, there are several indicators. One, the smell. Two, the sight, what you see there.
But I cannot afford to waste. I mean, poverty is one thing we're still dealing with in this part of the world, and we cannot throw away food.
Yeah. Well, you see, most of these things, they are proactive things. Number one, refrigeration. Let me take you through a tour from the farm to the
Please
table.
go ahead.
Yeah. Number one, when these foods are harvested, one of the challenges is during the harvesting, we would have said, okay, how do I want to? What are the things that I have? Like now, there is this thing about GMOs and non-GMOs.
What are GMOs?
The GMOs are genetically modified organisms because it has been an issue whether we should go or not to go and all those ones. But then, depending on the side you are on,
all right.
Now, you must know the kind of food you are taking out. That's one. You must have known what are the kind of practices, good agricultural practices, fertilizers. There is this thing which oftentimes I see and I marvel. We bring in fertilizers and we share to farmers, and farmers use. You don't use fertilizers that way. You have to do a soil analysis to know what is the fertilizer that we actually need in this place.
Okay.
So these things just go. You go to the market, go to Agri-Market, you see fertilizers, they are being sold there. So it has ways of impacting things. Now, when you bring this food stuff out, because immediately you harvest, the integrity starts to get compromised immediately, except you put in some things we call post-harvest, cooling of the things. Sometimes some you have to dry, then some you have to refrigerate. Your refrigeration chain must be intact. Something like the proteins, those are the meats, beef, fish, and they must go through refrigeration, and you would have done some slicing and then all those things. So now, when you now bring it to your home, you would have refrigerated those things in the right place, because each of them have where to put them, in the freezer or just in the fridge. And you find that
the temperature,
like I said earlier, in fact, pardon me if I release some things, some facts which would get the listeners to really understand some things. Today we have in excess annually. And when you remember that it is not everybody that comes to report, it is what is reported, but what is recorded says that Nigeria has a minimum of 200,000 cases of food safety incidences. Minimum.
Wow.
Yes, and that is the background that people don't usually report. And the WHO is still saying that the losses that we are incurring is in excess of $3.6 billion. You imagine what $3.6 billion would the difference it will make to our living style in Nigeria. Those are just tip of the iceberg, because we are not fully statistical when it comes to reportage. And you see a whole lot of things. Are we talking of the QSRs that produce their meat pies and they leave it under incubation, saying that they are warming it over time? These are things. Yeah, some time ago they said they should have their microwave and all those things, but is it really healthy? After the toxins have been injected into those things, you now take it there. The toxins are there. You may have deactivated the microbes, but the chemicals that they release, they are there. So you are eating those things, and you say, "Oh, we are Nigerians. We have immunity." What immunity do you have? So these are some of the things. It's still the due diligence. It's still the due diligence. Everything lies in the hands of the consumer. Government can do so much, but the consumer should be able to say. And again, by the time as customer complaints, taking care of customer complaints, you find that sometimes the consumers that come don't even understand. They don't even understand what is there. Somebody takes, for instance, your maize and co, and it has even your groundnut, you start to see aflatoxins there, and somebody will still consume it. Even seeing it, he's saying he's looking at his economy's pocket.
What are aflatoxins?
Aflatoxins are there.
What do they look like on groundnuts, on peanuts?
When you get your groundnut and you see that they are discolored, you see molds on them.
We have different colors of groundnut.
Except you are dyeing it, but you will definitely see the
we have the one that looks cream. that looks, a bit of a just light yellow. I mean, all sorts of color. You have the brown, you have the dark brown.
Different
colors.
The moment it is different from what you know that species to be, and you start to see those modes. Because you see, when we talk about food safety, most of the really critical ones are microbiological.
Okay.
They are, because you don't readily see them.
They're not
visible to the eyes. But they being there are not the issue, and that is where processing comes in. Processing gets them dormant. They form spores, and they are just there until they come into a favorable environment. But the result of their metabolic activities, those are the toxins, the chemicals that end up poisoning food.
All right.
That is the challenge you have there.
All right, Lagos, Nigeria, you can be a part of a conversation this afternoon. 0915-387-7127 is the number to call to be a part of the conversation. I still have my guest in the studio. Jude Mordi is with me, and it's going to be taking your questions. You can send a text or WhatsApp platform if you have concerns. Put in a call through on 0809-9120-777. Before I let you go, because we're into the closing hour on the show, let's look at some of the common practice here in this part of the world that we do and affects our food, and how we can do it better.
Okay, they are myriad. One, which we have been doing an advocacy. In fact, as we speak at Ojuoye Mushin, my institute, they're having a road show there, and last week in Ikorodu they did some. You find that today there's this practice. Nigerians eat fufu. Fufu should not be pure. It should not be snow white. But what people are doing, which is wrong, and they are being told not to do it, is that they use clean detergents and they use bleach. So instead of your fufu to stay for 3-4 days fermenting, it will stay for 1.5 or 2 days. So the time, and then it is pure white, and people rush to buy. Those are wrong things. It's not the manufacturing company; it is our local people that are doing that. Then you also have the people that adulterate palm oil. They use Sudan red, which is highly carcinogenic. It's a cancer causer. They use it. So you now see the palm oil, it is red. Brilliant red. And that Sudan red is a dye used in tannery, that is skin. And then, of course, the textiles. Then again, pomo, today, because of the economy, there's a lot of pomo eating. They use tires. They burn tires to do pomo. Then you find the ones that also add engine oil into the oil they use in frying akara, commercial.
Wow.
So I can go on and on and on. We've spoken about the
So how can we filter all of these things out? You just go to a regular market and pick, because you can't even identify the adulterated ones. What then do we do?
Yeah, sometimes you can. Sometimes you can, like the palm oil now. When you see palm oil, it's not supposed to be brilliant red. It's supposed to be yellowish. You see the sediment and the head. So, but when you see that everything is brilliant red, you know that no. But because of you find there's a very strong bond in the market there that kind of, let's say, protects that act. So when you tell them, you don't kill person, but you see these are slow killers. Now,
but then that's not the role of a consumer. That's the role of the policymakers.
The policymakers cannot be
and those who implement the policy.
Yeah, no, the policy. You see, the policy. That's why I said there are three things: the policy, the implementation of the policy, and then the consumer. Now, the government has looked at it and they've brought out this policy. The government cannot micromanage people. You imagine if everybody is behind everyone selling in the marketplace. And of course, I'm forgetting, if you want to buy dry fish and see that there are no flies there, you know that they've sprinkled sniper. They use sniper right there in the marketplace. There are so many things. Now the thing there is advocacy. You tell the other person and they get to see the implications.
Let's quickly take this call. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Olumuyiwate Obadi.
Welcome on board, sir.
Thank you very much. I thank our brother there. This issue of Pomo, what can we do to discourage Nigerians from eating Pomo? Is there any benefit inside this Pomo?
You want an answer? Okay, I'm listening.
Many arguments have gone that because of government using it for shoe, that's why they are discouraging them.
Yeah.
Is it true?
Well, it's not because government is using it for a shoe, because even if you travel outside this country, you can still find Pomo there. It's by choice. But the thing is that we need a stronger supply chain support to the industries, broken down into segments. Like if you look at what is happening in India, where they have a Ministry of Food Science and Technology that goes down to rural areas. So each stage, there is some measure of supervision, some measure of advocacy, training and all those things. And the value chain, there's value at each point. Now, how do people see Pomo? For instance, the abattoir in Okoba is a full industry, which is underutilized. There should be a situation where immediately the animals are killed, you bring out that sector, the skin that becomes Pomo, you pass it to the tannery. A tannery should be established. That's a line of business. The bones are a line of business. The beef, the blood, all those things. So once those things are clearly stated, you find that people will stop there. People are eating Pomo because it is economical. The cost is lower than that of beef.
Aside from economical, some people prefer it. It's tastier to some people.
No, of course, that's another factor. But increasingly, it is economical. It is cheaper than beef itself.
Absolutely.
So that is just. So you need to create values there so that people know. Oh, this Pomo, I can get more from the skin.
Okay, so let's state it categorically now. It's not like the Pomo is poisonous in any way. It is just the process of taking the air, away from the skin itself that is unhealthy.
It's not just that. Some have been implicated that they use formalin to preserve it. Formalin is the chemical used in preserving dead bodies in the mortuary, and that is definitely a no-no for human consumption. So the thing is that those things.
We cannot do DIY Pomo now. I mean, we can't do it ourselves. All right, let's begin to take this home this afternoon. So, what would be your advice to Lagosians, Nigerians at large, and of course to the policymakers also? Because we have to do this, side by side. It is not a one-man show kind of thing.
Well, to the government, one of the things I would tell the government is you think globally, but act locally. When you bring a policy, look at how that policy will be implemented in your own place. Because if you take a policy ready-made from Europe, the emancipation, the thought process there has gone so high. Awareness of hygiene and all those have gone so high.
Yes.
So that is their own. Now, in terms of implementation, where you have done, there's a lot of advocacy. Don't just throw out a policy. How is it going to be? Is it going to be operationally friendly that you can? Because it's not a matter of we are going to make money from these fines and all that. Then, of course, the consumer due diligence. You must be knowledgeable, aware of those safety.
It's not everything that is tasty you want to taste, all right? Be knowledgeable about what you are consuming.
Yes.
And of course, think globally and act locally. And that, and of course, is an advice to the policymakers, the government by extension. I must say a very big thank you to you for coming on the show, Jude Mordi. He is the Chief Operating Officer at Stubber Nigeria Limited. He is also a seasoned food technologist with experience spanning over 3 decades. This is where we wrap it up on today's edition of Safety Train. We have discussed from farm to fork. And yes, let me say maximum thanks to the social media team. Big thanks to Victor Oteri. Our executive producer is Tayo Akonli. This program has been brought to you courtesy Reliance Supply Limited, providers of first aid boxes and training. For brand promotion on the radio or access to our services, call 0818 131 3156 or message us on 090-86297-109. My name is Taiwo Barua. Make it a date with us next week for another interesting episode of the program.
From point to